it helps that you can hear us.
I mean, or maybe not.
Or if it was like that, that'd be better. You just imagine whatever we're saying. I do that when I watch foreign films sometimes. I'm like, hey, don't put the frying pan there. When I'm watching Outlander.
Just paint the story in your mind.
So we want to talk about, we've heard a lot of complaints from some folks we know and some people just about in the music business and world, like the true value of music. And where you might fit, if there are boxes, what it means to you, what it means as a monetary value, and so maybe how to survive in it a little bit mentally, more so than anything.
I think mentally, that's the thing, right? It's all about your expectations and how you frame it, right? It's easy to get frustrated or resentful, I think.
Yeah, that's what we were seeing a lot of, and it's a shame because it is such a gift you're sharing with everybody, regardless of the monetary recoupment that you're receiving.
Right.
And that's the rub, though. It's a lot of people go into this, with the original sin of sharing music and creating music, and that's just the positive. But then, like the monetary part of it, wanting to make a living from it and being compensated for it, it can suck the joy out of it really quickly.
You can.
And we've seen that with a few folks on some of these forums that we're friends with too, and some people in their Facebook groups, and it's just like it's sad. Like maybe at the end of this we can sort of re-inspire this, or just encourage you to just get out of it entirely.
Yeah.
No, but the idea is too, like, keep that energy, keep that torch going. But, I mean, what are your thoughts?
I don't know. I'm probably an odd...
You're an odd duck.
Example. I've always... I don't know. I love to play music, right? I would play music regardless. I have been fortunate enough to eke out a living for most of my adult life in some form or another, whether it's at a music shop or teaching lessons, but gigging has always been involved in that for me, playing for people. And I've always been of the mindset that music, I know a lot of people say, I play in my bedroom, it's just for me. That's never made any sense to me. Like, to me, the point of playing music is so that other people hear it, right?
Well,
I find a lot of joy there.
You would play for free. Like, and you have played, like you get paid for what you do, but I know you love playing so much.
I do.
If something came up like, hey Johnny, you and I are going to play this like charity event, like, cool, when is it?
Yeah, especially if we're playing stuff I enjoy and I think there's going to be people who are receptive. Yes.
Like deep Chris Cornell cuts.
Absolutely. That would be fantastic.
We're not insulting, it's just something you'd have to learn. That's that's the first thing that came to mind.
But yeah, I would play for free. I know people and have played with people who are very jaded about the whole thing. And I always thought, man, you should just not do this anymore because you don't enjoy it, right? It's just, you just grind and trying to make.
Well, like jumping back to the beginning of this, like music is one of those few fields and endeavors where there really isn't the gatekeeper. And so it's like, if you have a guitar or a voice, can talk, can strum a thing, hit a drum, you can be like, hey, I'm a musician and play it. Now, if you're a professional athlete, it's not the same. No. There's a different bar, like, to be at the top of that. Don't get me wrong, musicians are great too. I like to consider myself one sometimes, but every once in a while. On occasion. But I can literally play like one chord and sing to it and be like, this is my song. Why don't people get this?
Well, and
sometimes they do though.
I was gonna say the other side of that is sometimes you can play one chord and sing a silly, catchy song. People do get it and they love it. But there's all these other people who are more technically proficient and talented and blah blah whatever. No success.
Well, there's no metric on how to achieve the success. Like, in athletics or in business is like, can you generate and make more money for people?
Yeah.
Sports, can you achieve this level? How fast can you run? Can you catch that ball? Can you throw that pitch at 105 miles per hour?
Well, there's an objective measurement of what is good. And in sports and in business, that bar rises as people get better and better and technology gets better and what was fast 20 years ago is not fast anymore, right? Like the times, it is weird, but human beings keep pushing themselves.
Well, like me, like I was faster than my 12-year-old nephew last summer. Now he's faster than me. It makes me sad.
Totally the same thing.
I just want to talk about how sad that makes you. Because like, man, I flat out sprint. He's a serious athlete. I got him. Like now he's jerk. Johnny, I'll get you one day, you kid. Actually, I won't. Those days are over. You got me now. I've peaked and crested. It's over.
But you know, that same thing, it does not happen in music. It does not, there is no weird curve where just like more technical equals better music, you know?
No,
People
and
may not like it. You might hit all the objective good things, you know? But
you might be like a pretty like mediocre band technically, but you wrote like a song that somehow connects with an audience.
Or maybe you're just fun. Maybe people just enjoy being there with you, you know?
And like making jokes.
Making jokes.
Weird Al Yankovic. Derek's favorite. He is brilliant.
I mean,
he's brilliant. He's still, we're still talking about him today.
Yes.
That stuff came out in the 80s, I believe.
Is that when he started out?
I think it was like the late
Good
80s,
Lord.
or it was the 90s at the latest.
By the latest, yeah.
I feel like it was
But
maybe
you're probably right. I mean, it probably was.
89 or...
Wow, that's
Somebody
wild.
can Google that, but we don't do that because we don't believe in the internet. We're old-fashioned. This is being faxed to you right now, or microfiche.
Amazing.
We're mailing it to you right now. So in music, there's different boxes too.
Sure.
There are like, we obviously talked about the bedroom player, which like I like to do a lot. That's my favorite part of playing right now, is playing by myself.
Yeah.
No jokes needed. And
I was going to leave it alone.
Thank you. And then but then you have the musicians that are trying to, let's like talk about Sean, who works with us.
Yes.
He is in a band that is trying to like make it, right?
Right.
And so their goal is not financial compensation. They want to get paid, obviously, when they do the gigs, but their goal is to make it, whatever that may be.
Right. But I mean, they're not about the bottom line right now. They're trying to like build up this credit so that they are known and that they have a fan base, so that in 6 months or a year or 3 years, people are like,
and their band is The Violent Exploit, by the way,
true.
and they had a new single come out on Friday, and I think and this is pretty good for an unknown band. Like they had like 3,000 streams in the first, 48 hours or something.
Which is great.
It's a big deal.
I think that's really good.
It's a big deal for a bunch of weird, ugly dudes.
And they work their tails off to do that,
do,
right?
They work really hard.
They're kind of like the music making is like half of it, like maybe, and that maybe is being
Sean's
generous.
like third job,
Right?
Or let's just call it a second job. But he probably spends as much time doing that and gets compensated zero.
Right.
That's one thing. You're trying to make it for like a future payoff.
Yes.
None here in the front end, later in the back end. It's like the Tom
Expose your
Cruise. Tom Cruise in Top Gun, where he's like, I'll just take $12.5 million salary from Maverick. And people are like, that's it? But I want 10% of the box office gross. I'm like, well, if it does pretty well, you'll do okay. Oh, it just did $1 billion. Like this was a few weeks ago, it did $1 billion.
Probably doing okay. Yeah.
So I think it crested 1.3 billion maybe.
Good Lord.
So that's 130 million extra to Tom.
Yeah.
Which I feel like he deserves every penny and more because he is Sir Tom Cruise. How has he not been knighted yet? Sir Anthony Hopkins, Sir Timothy Cruise.
I mean,
that's just what I'm saying.
Could you be non-British?
Shush. He's a royal subject of the universe. He should be knighted, but he's amazing.
This is true.
The God amongst men.
I'm sure in some strange space fantasy Scientology thing he is knighted.
Now there's the other box of musicians that are sort of gigging for economic recompensation.
Where it's just the bottom line. Like it's just, I need to make X amount.
And they still love it. And
Sure. Sometimes.
And you've done both.
Yes.
I've done both as well. I like even when I'm just doing that one. It's fun.
I always feel like that's fun.
It's fun.
I feel like it's all about your expectations,
to play music,
right? And it is probably a bit of an undervaluing of, you spend all these years to play and be decent, and
your background music.
And but sometimes you've relegated yourself to that, right? You have to have
you've
expectations.
You've positioned yourself in that, but you're making a living. Let's say you make $400 a night. That's a lot of money.
It's great money, fantastic money if you can make that.
That's like your hourly rate.
Yeah, I mean,
that'd be awesome.
That would be awesome.
I don't even know how that's like. I feel like that's like Bill Gates's sort of personal assistant's hourly rate, maybe.
I hope so.
I do too.
So.
Like just
I don't know.
Would you like the ironing done now or later? Because ironing is going to cost you $400.
And he's just like, whatever, I don't care.
Answering the phone, $400.
Burn those clothes and buy new ones. I got farmland to buy.
Then you have the other box too, where you are trying to make a living of it as an original artist too.
Well, I
and that's the trickier part.
Try to straddle.
You do straddle. You're right. You're like you got the fence post. Your one's right between your crotch.
Right there.
You got one on each leg. You're split on, so you can fall at any point.
Yes.
Smack dab on the wiener. But I look at some of our acoustic singer-songwriters that are trying to do that out there. Like we just had somebody play. Who she just played at the Rooster this weekend?
Brennan Lee.
And she was really great from what I hear too. And
Fantastic.
she did well. She left with like a good ticket sale number. So she like that. You can make a living if you're doing that. Twice a week.
But
once a week.
You think about her, like she's toured nationally. She's played with You Sleep at the Wheel. So right, so like pretty big name. But you still come into some markets where nobody really particularly knows who you are. You're still grinding. You still have to win that audience over. You still have to hustle to sell tickets, right? And you hope the venue's hustling too. I mean,
well, it is. That guy or the girl, a young lady performing that was on Joe Rogan recently, and Derek was mentioning that she was on Joe Rogan's show, which is, you have 1 million listeners there off the bat. And then she was like tweeting. She's like, I'm just saying for her just talking for a minute, but she's there for 3 hours.
Right.
And she's like, I'm getting ready to play in front of 9 people in Montana or something. Yeah. It's the grind. It's a brutal gig. Or Zach, our young and up and coming guy, like, he's just finishing up, like, I think a West Coast tour. He's coming back. He's getting to do some shows near Texas. And he's going to Europe. And he's doing an East Coast tour after that. And he's doing really well. He's open for like, playing on bills with like the Foo Fighters and Beck and Anderson .Paak and like some big acts and Buddy Guy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But then he's playing my hometown in Sacramento at one point. I was there for like my baby times. I don't remember anything, so we can't have this moment, unfortunately. I grew up outside of Chicago. That we can have a moment about that maybe. I guess it was technically Chicago. Whatever. Long story. But then he got Sacramento, like one ticket sale. Because nobody knows who he is there. But then he sells out 50, happens. 150 the next night, sold out 500 in this other venue. It's funny. It happens, right?
Well, I mean, that's like on the Tom Petty documentary that I love. There's this part where they're talking about hitting it so big in Europe and being huge, and coming back to the States and no one. And he said they'd be on the plane or they'd be on the bus going to a show. And they'd be like, "Are we famous here?" So then when they would get off, there'd either be a crowd or no one would give, what. You know what I mean? Like, just no one would care. But I think everyone, until you reach that superstar status, has that,
Well, I think that's the thing about trying to be a professional musician is that we all need to be very clear and honest with the younger folks coming up. It is still a 1 in a million shot.
It is.
For most. Like, you can find a way to eke out a living. And then you modify, but you need to be prepared, right? When you go into this, this is not.
I think you have to have that realistic expectation, and you better derive some joy in just the act of going and doing it. I mean, like there are these magical moments to be had playing live music, but there's a lot of nights where you're just like, oh, all right.
It can be work.
It can be work. But there's a great Vince Gill quote where he talks about, he makes this song and he puts all this stuff into it, and they sell it for 99 cents on iTunes or whatever. And he's like, but you can go to the app store and you can buy a fart app, an app that makes fart noises on your phone. He's like, and it's the same price as my song that I've poured everything into. I mean, that is the sad
The reality of this needs to be brought to everyone's, because we're growing up as kids and like, I want to be a fighter pilot. Well, that's like the top 0.5% of who actually gets to be in the Navy or the Air Force. Or I want to be like, a famous actor. That's again the top 5%, 0.5% is what I meant to say, 0.5 for both of those. And being a professional, like a famous musician, is very difficult. It can happen, but
sure.
You just have to have realistic expectations and enjoy it, though.
And
enjoy the ride.
Do I wish people valued music more and had better attention spans? Yes, but it's just not where we are. Sadly.
And I was mentioning to you guys too, like earlier when we were talking about this, sort of prepping it. I was like, I created this whole thing, like the Van Gogh premise to my mind. It's like, sometimes your music might not get appreciated for years later.
Yeah.
It might not. And hopefully you're creating music that you derive joy from making.
Yes.
But just imagine, like 1 to 10 to 20 to 30 to 50 to thousands of people might fall in love with that song decades later. And we were looking at, she wasn't an unknown, but we look at the Kate Bush syndrome again, and she's just blown up. And it's been wonderful to see. This one TV show did for...
Who's the guy, though, that turned out he was like famous? They did a documentary about him. He was famous in like Africa or somewhere, but he had no idea. He had like made the one record and had gone back to whatever his job, and then years and years later.
I've heard of this, yes.
I'm blanking on his name. You'll put it in the comments. But I mean, like, that's a great example. it could have easily gone to where he never knew about that,
And
right?
that's
And
sort
then
of
somebody
fun.
finds out about it, makes a documentary, and he's blown up. I mean, luckily he's blown up, and he's seen some of the fruit of that. But and I say blow up. I mean, he's still not a household name,
It doesn't matter.
but he's had some success.
And my philosophy, if you made some music that it brings, like, just I hate to say it, just one person true joy.
The cliche, but that is true.
It's
You
something.
know?
It's a gift you brought in the world that didn't exist. It was
Yep.
not alive before you did it, and that's the magic of songwriting.
It's true.
And it goes out there, and it might get heard by thousands of people. It might get heard by dozens. It might get heard by just you, and the pleasure you had making it and writing it and listening to it can be enough.
Maybe it's not even that. Maybe it's you brought someone a moment of pure joy playing some horrible cover song one night. I think that's pretty darn cool.
That is pretty cool.
I mean,
I've done that.
it's a relatively small percentage of the population who gets to do that and experience that and be the one providing joy and entertainment and,
So chin up.
happiness.
If you're down it, it's like, remember, there's something greater than, I know it's hard, the monetary parts, you want to make a living, it's hard, but
And we're in no way like saying, oh, you shouldn't be paid or stop complaining. Absolutely. Be paid,
we're
be paid
artists.
more.
I work with the group where I'm an artist
Yeah.
advocate and get
Right.
artists paid more. But it's a tough grind. Just be aware it's a tough grind out there.
It is.
The way you get paid more is usually you're playing other people's music. That's the unfortunate truth of it. That's usually it, but that's not a bad thing either. I spent years doing that at one point myself, and it was pretty darn rewarding.
There you go.
I just like playing music.
Music's good. Play music.
Weird smile. I'm gonna leave now. I'm gonna go home.
Let's go.
I'm gonna go home and talk about
gonna-
guitars.
Go play some other people's music. It's going to be great.
That's what I'm gonna do. Hate my life.
I like it.
I actually like my life pretty for the most part.
Pretty good.
Besides the quicksand.
God, imagine if there was quicksand right here. We only had like 10 minutes to talk because then we'd be like right at the tip of our...
Okay, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna get ready to go into the movie. I gotta stop. I'm gonna do the movie later. I got an idea for it. Saving it for next week.
There you go.
Done.
See you next time.
Make music.
Stay out of quicksand.